Welcome, everyone. I am Sophfronia Scott, Director of the Alma College MFA in Creative Writing. This is your next degree, pursuing a Master of Fine Arts MFA in Creative Writing. Welcome. I'm going to share my screen because I have some images to share with you this evening. And I would like to introduce you to the people who are going to be talking to you this evening. Myself, as I mentioned before, I am the founding director of this program. I'm Sophfronia Scott. I am a writer and I write fiction and nonfiction. My background is as a journalist. I first started out with Time and People magazines. Since I earned my MFA, I have published several books and I have taught in several different MFA programs. And I also still teach, and I am an active speaker out in the world. I also have with us Anna Clark, who is on our faculty. She is the fabulous Anna Clark. She lives in Detroit. She is a reporter for ProPublica, a nonprofit newsroom dedicated to investigative journalism with moral force. I love the sound of that. She is also the author of The Poison City, Flint's Water and the American Urban Tragedy, which won the Hillman Prize for Book Journalism and the Rachel Carson Environment Book Award. It was also named one of the year's best books by the Washington Post, the San Francisco Chronicle, the New York Public Library, Audible, and others. Anna's writing has appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, Elle, the New Republic, Political, the Columbia Journalism Review, the Boston Review, Next City, and other publications. She is a contributing editor at Waxwing Literary Journal. She received the Excellence in Environmental Journalism Award from the Great Lakes Environmental Law Council, and her writing was a notable pick in Best American Sports Writing 2012. Anna has been a Fulbright Fellow in Creative Writing in Nairobi, Kenya, and a Knight Wallace Journalism Fellow at the University of Michigan. Anna graduated from Warren Wilson's MFA program for writers. And this is a degree program she entered right after graduating from college. And she will speak to us a bit about that in a little bit. So this evening, we're here to talk about exactly what is an MFA and how you can pursue one through Alma College. And there are different ways you can do that, but this is in particular our program and how we put together a kind of varied writing community of people who are both recent graduates and others who are coming back to writing after a long time. So let's start with the basics. What is an MFA? And I want to do this because we tend to throw around these letters a lot because we're writers and we tend to think everyone knows this, but it is a graduate degree. The MFA is a Master of Fine Arts and it is an advanced degree. And you can get an MFA in a variety of creative areas, in music, in visual arts, in graphic design. An MFA in creative writing, though, focuses on the art and practice of writing, and it's for those who are interested in publishing their own original works, pursuing a teaching career, or pursuing a career in the publishing industry. And everyone has a variety of reasons for pursuing an MFA. It may even be beyond these three, but in general, it is quite a flexible degree. And the knowledge that comes with it is essential to understanding who you are as a writer and to what I like to say, wielding the magic that is your writing talent. So an MFA, when you apply, most applicants have a bachelor's degree in English or creative writing, but it is not necessary. Degree seekers may come from any field where they want to improve their writing abilities, or you may just be leaving a field and wanting to focus on writing, the writing that you've always wanted to do, but kind of got sidetracked by life and other career ambitions. An MFA, and I mentioned teaching, an MFA is the preferred or required degree for a variety of careers. If you want to teach creative writing at any level, from elementary school to higher education, a master's degree will be required. Now, in creative writing, the MFA is usually referred to as a terminal degree. And that's another piece of jargon that's thrown around a lot. A terminal degree means it's the furthest point you can go in one's formal art education. You don't need a PhD. Now, this is still the case, although there are some schools that are beginning to offer PhDs either in creative writing, although there aren't as many of those. The PhDs that are out there tend to be in literature with a focus on creative writing. Now, the Alma MFA program, which was launched last year in Alma, Michigan at Alma College. You should know that Alma is located about an hour north of Lansing, where, like, if you look at the mitten, yes, exactly, Anna, it's right in the middle of the mitten that is Michigan. So the Alma MFA is a low residency format. Now, what does that mean? Full residency means you attend full-time throughout the normal school year, and one often has to leave their home. Like, you have to go to a program and you're living there, you're teaching there, and you're at the school. And you tend to have to give up a job, or you have to move to pursue a full residency degree. Now, the Alma program is not like that. We are a 2-year degree, but it is a low residency format, which means you only have to be on campus twice a year for a 10-day intensive residency. We hold them in June and in January. During that time, we'll talk more a little later about what happens at residency, but during your time at the residency, you get paired one-on-one with a faculty mentor. And for the rest of the term, which is 5 months, you are submitting a packet of work once a month, each month, to your faculty mentor, who will provide feedback, but also guide you in your work. So you are submitting creative work, craft papers, or critical writing. And all of this is also based on an assigned reading list. Now, the wonderful thing about this process is that it is very individualized. So your study plan may change based on what your instructor is seeing in your work. And I can provide you with a personal example. I started working on a novel during my MFA studies, and my instructor could see right away that the point of view in my novel was muddied. And as we discussed this, she realized that I didn't have a clear understanding of true omniscience versus close third person. So she gave me a couple of different novels to read. I remember Atonement was one of them. And I had to write a paper on the difference between these two things. And it clarified things for me immensely. And if you look at that novel eventually became my book, Unforgivable Love. It is close third person, told from the point of view of separate characters. But I was able to hone that and fix that in my MFA studies. Now, upon graduation, you will be able to demonstrate a strong proficiency of writing skills, including the use of organization and structure, use of language, forming and communicating well-developed ideas with creative thought and expression in selected genres. We offer 3 genres in the program. You may study fiction, nonfiction, or poetry. You may also spend a semester in a different genre if you want to dip your toe in and see what poetry is all about, for example. Or you may decide to study dual genre, which means you would take another semester and spend 3 semesters in one genre, a major genre, and then 2 in a minor genre. You will come away with a strong understanding of craft and the ability to lecture on technique. You'll have the ability to read and think critically as a writer. And you will have a knowledge of the publishing industry, including how to get work published in a variety of venues. Now, some of the materials that you will have to deliver over the course of your degree, you are expected to produce a long form critical thesis in your 3rd semester, which will then be delivered as a lecture. So you will be on the schedule along with faculty and visiting writers delivering your own lecture. When you graduate, you will have produced your creative thesis. So a long form piece of a manuscript of poetry, novel, essays, and you will deliver some of that work as a public reading during your graduating residency. Now, it's possible to go into this program right after you graduate from college. And one of the reasons I wanted Anna, well, besides the fact that Anna is fabulous, one of the reasons I wanted Anna with us today is to talk about what it's like to go into this program right after college, because you did that, correct, Anna?
Yes.
A program like this.
Yeah, I mean, there was I finished my undergraduate in December, and then I started the program at like the summer residency for a low residency program like this one. I don't know.
What was your decision making around that, to go into an MFA right away and a low residency one at that?
Right. Well, I definitely knew I wanted to be a writer. I've known that since I was very young. And I studied in college, like creative writing and art history. And while I do nonfiction now, I was focused on mostly fiction, although I did some journalism stuff then, but I was focused mostly on fiction. And I once I like discovered that these kind of programs even existed, MFAs, I was like, oh, well, clearly that's the next step I would take, because I wanted keep growing. Like I was at that like excruciating point where I knew my abilities were like nowhere near where I wanted my abilities to be. Like I knew enough about writing to see all that I lacked, and I really wanted to keep continuing on. I took it very seriously. I really felt like it was my vocation. And I remember, I wish I could remember exactly how the low residency format came on my radar. I don't remember that idea, but the program I applied to was the only MFA I applied to at all. It was, I think I sort of knew that this was going to be the place for me. I knew some of the things I liked about it was that I'd done both kind of one-on-one mentorships and workshops in my undergraduate writing classes. And I really felt that I would grow the most in like a mentorship model. I would get the most writing done. I would get the most feedback. I would, just like be able to like progress more in 2 years, which can go by like in a wink. And I also was really hungry. As much as I loved my college experience and all my dear friends and all that there, I was really hungry to not be on a campus again, right? Like I wanted to kind of be out in the world. I was of the age and that might have like slid into a traditional workshop experience, but the idea of like kind of spending another few years in a very similar environment with people within like a few years of my age, it just felt a little deadening. I was like in my early 20s. I really wanted to like get out. I wanted to live my real life. I wanted to learn how to be a writer, not just in the like cocoon of a campus, but like out in the world, right? Because that's where, if I'm going to be a writer for the rest of my life, that's really what I need to learn. So I ended up, doing this program, and then also like moving to Boston and doing this completely other different thing and I really think like it taught me a lot of like the discipline that it takes to really sustain a writing practice well beyond graduation. And I thought I was going to sacrifice the community aspect. I thought that was the thing I'd miss, right? Like I wouldn't have as strong a ties with my classmates and friends, and the fact that I wouldn't bond as well. And I was amazed at how quickly that those bonds did indeed develop. The residencies are pretty intensive and communal and beautiful. And for me, like I really developed like these wonderful friendships, and that have carried in many cases over to this very day. It's been more than 15 years since I graduated. So it all worked out.
You make a good point, Anna, about that in a low residency program, you learn how to write while the rest of your life goes on.
Yes. I mean, this is the hard part, right? Like, cause this is like, I mean, you still have an infrastructure of support, right? Like you have you have a teacher, you have your classmates, you have a program that gives you some direction with where you're going. So you have that, you're not like kind of flailing all on your own, but you also have to figure out how to make time for it in a world that has 1,000 really important demands on our time, right? Like,
Right.
how do you find time to be a writer when you also need to do a job to make your money, to pay rent, when you maybe have kids, when you maybe are moving to a new town, when you're like making friends, like your family obligations, like, there's all the things that you're also committed to. Maybe people in your life, love them though you do, like who may not support or totally understand like what you're doing with your writing. Like, how do you like learn to like make space for this despite being pulled in all these different kinds of directions, despite being able to like, in a day way, like, one can rationalize all the time, doing something other than writing. And that was like, I think I learned a lot about actually writing and reading in my program, but I think often about like, that was the most important gift I got early in my writing life, was to develop a writing practice that I was able to persist in regardless of the chaos going on around me. And to do it not just one day, but also the next day and the next and the next and the next. And just be like, this is what I do. And teaching the other people in my life, this is what I do. Sometimes the program is a little bit of a ramp, for them to just understand it. Like, oh, well, you're a student, you have a deadline. Okay, I get it. And then later when you're graduating, you're like, I just have this story to write. Nobody's waiting for it, but I have to do it. And I'm going to spend this like day doing it. You need some of that practice sometimes, I think, to really like set the boundaries and create the rituals, the habits that are necessary to make writing a lifelong practice.
Yeah, I agree, Anna. The question I get so often, especially since I started directing this program, people ask me, what about your writing? Are you still going to be able to write? And I say, well, I just finished a novel. The novel's coming out next year. What kind of model would I be for our students if I wasn't writing? That's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And this is one thing that I think is like really wonderful about this community. Many of us do have low residency experiences ourselves, including Sophfronia and I. And this is like, and we like have seen why that infrastructure was like so valuable and to us in real time. And while being part of this community, we're like maintaining the same practice, like it all mirrors each other. We can all learn from each other because we have some of these like kind of common influences. Anyway, it's kind of fun.
Exactly. So let's talk about what happens at residency. So residency happens, as I mentioned, in June and in January. And the next one is coming up, June 16th, our next residency begins. Our summer residencies are held on the Alma campus. We are housed in the beautiful Wright Lapine Opera House, which is a beautiful building that historical building that Alma renovated. And our apartment style accommodations are in that building. That's where we hold our lectures. And our workshop rooms are also on campus. Now, in the winter, when the undergraduates are in residency, we cannot be at the Opera House. So we are at the Ralph A. McMullen Center, which is a gorgeous conference center facility an hour north of Alma in Roscommon, Michigan. And it not only provides us with this cozy, different space, we have activities such as snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. That's actually an image of one of our students cross-country skiing from this past residency. And it's just, our MFA is all about focusing on place. So understanding where we are located, the gorgeous state that is Michigan. So a lot of things that we do will involve trying to get outdoors at some point, either through hikes or skiing. This summer, there will be a special workshop offered by faculty mentor Robert Vivian, where he's going to take students fly fishing at the end of the workshop experience. So that's very much a part of who we are. Now, this past winter, we were supposed to offer an optional winter residency at Oxford University in England, but of course, COVID put the kibosh on that. So we are still hoping to do that next winter. Fingers crossed, we will see how that shapes up. But the idea is, as the program develops, is to be able to offer different travel options in terms of just going to other literature-based areas to learn about writing from different global perspectives. So we have 10 days. What happens in the 10 days of residency? It's pretty intense. You know, we tend to pack a lot in to those 10 days. So first of all, you have the basics. You have lectures. There are lectures every day. Anna, what are you laughing about?
I just love seeing all these sweet people. It makes me miss everybody. This is great.
Yeah, we are very much connected already. You know, we're a very tight-knit community. So, yeah, these are our lectures. The faculty mentors deliver lectures. We also have lectures from visiting writers, which I'll talk about in a moment. But the lectures are where you are presented with the true high-level aspects of writing. And already we've had a couple of students say that they're sitting in that classroom and they realize, you know, this is different from any like conference workshop that they've ever participated in or workshop group that they had at home. They realize that this truly is a higher level of learning, and it's challenging, but you will find that these lectures are inspiring. They make you want to not only look at your writing differently, but maybe even try different things. Now, workshop, you'll have 6 workshop days over the course of the residency. Now, these are the small classroom experiences, and they are divided by genre: fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. And this is where you will submit work before the residency to be critiqued. And you will also critique the work of your classmates. Now, this is also where a lot of learning occurs. This is Danielle Clayton leading this fiction workshop, where they will, like, if there is learning that is missing, for example, like if there is a basic that the class doesn't understand, like something having to do with detail and description, for example, this is where the faculty mentor will say, okay, let's, instead of getting to this critique, let's do this first. And the session will become a learning session on a particular aspect of the work. So it's intense, but it's exciting and not scary. Some writers tend to be really nervous about having their work critiqued, but this is really an open experience. Wouldn't you say so, Anna?
I would. And I think a way to think about it is maybe like, it's like the lab experience, you know, it's like the experimentation space. It's like the hands-on part. It's where a lot of the writing happens that you'll do at the residency is, you know, in the nonfiction workshops, for example, we often start with a lot of prompts, like focus on some particular craft technique, we kind of like warm up that way. It's very playful. It's very fun. We, you know, learn each other, get in conversation with each other well before we start talking about people's individual writing, the submissions they put. And also, like, the word critique, I think, like, can sound, yeah, it does sound very scary, like, oh my God, everybody's just going to tell me everything negative. It's going to be really intense. But like, the idea is, like, we're building a community that's like trying to like learn how to help you do the best writing that you can do. We're coming from like a supportive place, you know, like trying to help talk about like what's working and what's wonderful about your work, what ideas and questions it's bringing to mind, what's maybe a little confusing, but like what ideas can be done to like pursue it. It's meant to be very like practical and humane. And I mean, it's helpful. And I think these workshops experiences are as meaningful, not just for the person whose work is being discussed, but also for everybody at the table, right? You know, like, one of the skills that I hope people develop in this program is not just like honing their own work, but engaging in a very active, compassionate, serious, thoughtful way with the writing of others, both in the books they read and when they're sharing a table like this.
Yes. Now, I also mentioned that you will end up working one-on-one with a faculty mentor. Now, this isn't just, we pair you up and sign off. It's like, okay, here you work with this person, work with this person, work with this person. That's not how it goes. We set aside time during the residency for faculty interviews, where you get to speak with whichever faculty mentors you're interested in working with, discussing what you're working on, what you're interested in learning for that coming semester. And then you submit a faculty preference list with your top choices. And the assignments are made based on that. Now, once you have your assignment, you will be working throughout the residency with your faculty mentor to develop a study plan for the work that you will do in the coming semester. So Anna, can you talk a little bit about how the study plan is developed and what it can include?
Sure. The study plan is really kind of the heart of your semester. It's like the blueprint you begin with when you leave the residency. So for most of us, by the time we get to the last day of the residency, we're exhausted, like we're kind of spent, you're inspired, you learned a lot, you met a lot of people, you had all these experiences, your mind's racing, your real life seems like 1,000 miles away. Maybe it literally is. And you might get home and then you'd be like, okay, now what? You got your study plan. This is like something that you and your teacher worked on together. And the idea of it is to think about, like, just make a map for where your semester will go. Like you'll set out the deadlines for the 5 packets, for example. If you've got a big wedding coming up, you can kind of work around that then, you'll talk about the kind of goals that you have with your writing. Maybe you want to like just generate more pages because you're still kind of like feeling out what you want to do. Maybe you have this really clear project in mind. Like, I want to write this specific memoir. I'm like, I know what I want to do. People are all over the place and it's fine, but maybe you're just like, I don't know. And like the teacher might like just throw out some ideas and just give you some starting suggestions. So you'll discuss and write down for the study plan, like these like shared goals for your creative work. And you also come up with a reading list for the semester too. Books that kind of might build on some of your goals, might deepen and expand some of the reading you've already done. And out of some of those books, you will also do some of the critical essays that are part of the semester plan as well. So anyway, yeah, as the semester goes on, as you go back to real life, as you're like fighting for your writing time and you're trying to get some pages on, you can always refer back to the study plan and be like, okay, what were my goals? What were my intentions? How can I get back to that? Am I like kind of meeting this? If things change over the semester, if you read something and you're like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. There is some natural evolution that happens. Of course, there's some adaptability here, but it's good to have a strong foundation to start with. And that's what the study plan is. It's very unique to you.
Yeah. And you're expected to work with a different faculty mentor each semester. Now, if you start a big project with a faculty mentor and you feel you want to keep working with them for another semester, you can always petition to do that. But you'll find that we have a tremendous faculty and everyone has something to teach you. And it's just a tremendous experience to get to work with as many people as you can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, we also have professional development panels. And this is kind of unusual for a lot of MFA programs. They tend to keep the publishing industry part separate, but we believe it's very important for you to understand how publishing works. And so we bring in experts each residency to talk about different aspects of the business. In these pictures, we had small press editors at our winter residency. In the lower left image from last summer, we had a panel on literary journals, what they were, what it meant to submit to them. We have faculty panels where we often talk about our own particular experience with certain aspects of publishing. But we believe that if you're going to be out there trying to get your work published, or even like finding your way in what you want to do in the publishing world, that it's important for you to meet as many people as possible and to understand the work that they are doing. You may start a small press yourself one day, or start your own online literary journal. But to understand all of these things is part of being a literary citizen, as well as a good professional. So it's important for me to have all of these points covered. We will have the editorial director of Audible, for example, at this coming summer residency, to talk about the business of audiobooks, right? So even though that's something that may seem far off, into your career, it's important to understand, because so many books are turned into audiobooks these days. So what is that about, and how do those books get chosen and marketed? How do you get to read your own work if that's what you want to do? It's important to know these things. We also have a different slate each residency. We have a different slate of visiting writers. So these are, again, high-level writers who come to add just a different set of voices to residency. They deliver a lecture, they deliver a public reading, but they also have an informal time with students just to talk about their writing lives. We've been honored to have the U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo with us last summer virtually. We've also had the writer David Mura and Khaled Madawa. I am thrilled to announce our summer visiting writers who will be with us in June. The poet Matthew Dickman, who has a new fabulous book coming out in June called Husbandry. The journalist, memoirist, Deborah Kopakin, whose fantastic memoir Lady Parts is out there. And the novelist S. Kirk Walsh, who was supposed to be with us last winter, but didn't come because of the surge, the Omicron variant. So we're thrilled that she could come this summer, and she's going to be discussing applying for fellowships and how writers go about doing that. And her novel is The Elephant of Belfast. So we're excited to have her with us. The next aspect. So I mentioned readings. The visiting writers all give public readings, but so do the faculty. And this is our way of participating in the community, of having the Alma public come and hear the fabulous words of our people. Now, right now, it's all faculty doing these readings, but you should know that when you graduate, you will be on the schedule as well to deliver a public reading. And you can also invite your family and friends, but you will be on the schedule as well. Now, as I mentioned, our schedule is packed. It will be even more so as we go through, as students go through the program. But it's an exciting thing to show up and be there for your classmates when they deliver their culminating material. But I should add that we don't throw you out there to just read and figure it out. There are informal student readings throughout the residency. And this is meant for you to just get your feet wet, to practice delivering your work in public. We also offer a special workshop. The local bookstore owner, Dawn Daniels of Ballyhoo Books in Alma, she is also a spoken word artist. So not only do we have readings at her bookshop, but she also delivers a special workshop to our students to teach them how to present their reading in public. And it's been very effective. The students adore Dawn, and we have her back each residency to help them work on this very important skill. And we also have activities. Just like I mentioned, being outdoors, but just it's as a matter of flexing our creative muscles, just doing different activities during residency. Anna, maybe you can talk about this one, because Anna teaches improv classes. And so I had to ask her, like, Anna, can we have an improv class at residency? Which we did. That's what that upper left photo is during winter residency. Anna and a colleague teaching an improv workshop.
Yeah, this was really fun. I'm not a natural like improv person or comedian, and for like if folks aren't familiar with it, it's sort of like it's basically we were playing a lot of like short form like theater games, kind of making things up on the spot. They're fancy words for just plain make believe is what it is. And I like, even though I'm not like comfortable with this, like it's something I've done for a long time, because I found it like, first it's just very energizing and fun, but it's also is like, but it has been so healthy for my like writing practice. It gets me out of that kind of perfectionism grip, gets me looser, more playful, more fun. You kind of get back to that like gentle creative spirit. And folks like who participate in this, at the last residency, were just amazing. Like people like clicked on it like right away. Some folks are a little shyer and stuff. It's totally fine. Again, it's like everybody's being very supportive, but people I think like really saw this as like a way to like kind of like be a little vulnerable, like connect, like kind of put yourself out there, just try something really low stakes, but be collaborative. People are smiling and laughing. It's just a way to kind of like open up your curiosity again, and just think about other ways of making up stories. I mean, it's for me, it's been a really good jolt. And I think these other activities too have that kind of same theme of just like waking us up, getting us in new spaces, remembering that our writing practice isn't just what we're doing when we're sitting down very serious at a computer, but it's like what we're doing when we're engaging in the world with like Sophfronia and the balance beam over there.
Yeah, that was a hike. We didn't expect to find these physical activities out there, and so we was like, okay, why not? Let's do it. And also we went cross country skiing, and we took a group lesson and then hit the trail on our own. The bottom left picture is from a stargazer. We had a stargazer slash storyteller visit us at winter residency, and we were out with our night vision flashlights to talk about the night sky. The other thing about the activity piece, what you just said, Anna, reminded me of being engaged in the world, reminded me of something that I saw on the movie Get Back, the movie about the Beatles working on a series of songs. And they were on a short deadline. They had to write a ton of songs in like 2 weeks. And one of the things that struck me was how George Harrison, you thought, okay, they have all of this work to do, that he would be at home, like, struggling over a piece of paper, trying to figure out a song. But no, he went home and he's watching sci-fi, and he's watching this sci-fi, and there's a weird kind of surreal scene where they have people in a huge Austrian ballroom and they are dancing a waltz. And he is caught up in the time signature, the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And he ends up having that beat in his head, and he ends up writing this very simple song that he brings to the studio the next day. The song that's, if you know the Beatles, it's the song I, Me, Mine. And he tells them, well, this is what I have, and it's very simple, and it's I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. But it was interesting to me that he would not have come up with that song necessarily if he had just been sitting at his desk struggling. Like he went and just took in inspiration from what he took in, watching TV, reading a book. You see them in the studio reading newspapers and sometimes using the words from the newspaper as false lyrics until they came up with lyrics. So I'm all about movement and creativity play dates to get your muscles going. By the way, Anna, I saw, we have a writer named Shonda Buchanan who's going to be joining our faculty next winter. And she lives in LA, but she happened to be in New York City this past week. And she and I went to an exhibit in New York City of the artist Jean-Michel Basquiat. And to me, it was a creativity play date, because we were just taken in by this person's material, by what his expression was of what he was trying to say about Black history, Black heroes. But it was just a very inspiring time. So I just feel I'm all over activities. So you're going to have to.
I love that. That sounds so fun that way you're doing that. That's good practice.
We're just going to do more of this, guys. So be prepared.
More of this.
So, okay. So Oh, and also just informal time, right? Just the time that you spend, like so much learning happens outside of the classroom. When we are just having meals together, hanging out, singing karaoke, as we're doing in that bottom left picture there, right? That just the bonding as an artistic community is a huge aspect of it. And it's what drives us to be together every 6 months. Okay, so I'm not going to take questions just yet. I want to give you the application process so that I can stop sharing this screen and then we can take questions and we can talk. Our summer residency deadline coming up is May 1st. And if you are on this call and feel that now that you want to apply and you feel like you may not have enough time, just email me. Like we can work with you because we would love to have you, of course, at summer residency. Your requirements: you do not have to take the GRE. Know that, first of all. Your college transcripts for each college or university you've attended. And don't worry if you got a C back in 1990 or something like that. Basically, we want to know that you have the degree that's required to pursue an MFA. Send your resume or your CV. Send a creative writing sample of about 25 pages. A personal essay talking about your specific interest in the program and what you'd like to pursue. What are your goals for such a program? What do you think your strengths and weaknesses are as a writer? And what other experiences do you have that you feel you can offer the artistic community of our program? A literature essay in which you discuss what books do you like? What writers inspire you and have influenced you? 2 letters of recommendation, but they don't have to be from people who know your writing, because if you're coming back to writing after a long time, you may not have such a person in your life. This can be a friend, a colleague, somebody who knows of how you are in community, how you are at time management, organizing deadlines, how you may be in community. So it's as simple as that, putting together that package. Deadline for winter residency is November 1st, but you know, a lot of people tend to start in the summer, so we are totally open to having you with us. So let me stop this screen share. And oh, that's my email address if you would like to email me with further questions, but we will take questions right now. And I will stop this share. Okay. So what can we do? What would you like to know more about? Don't be shy. Who's going first? Or maybe we've already answered everything.
Sophfronia, I had a question for you.
Yes. Hey, Eric.
Hi. So in the interim between the residencies, are there any classes we need to attend, or is it just meeting with our kind of faculty sponsor for that semester and presenting our work to them?
Yeah, there are no classes. It is about submitting those packets of writing each month to your mentor. Now, some faculty, depending on who you're working with, may have some sort of group meeting of all of the students that person is working with each term. Maybe just so that you guys can discuss a book that you may be commonly reading, or just for a community aspect. But that's at the discretion of the faculty mentor.
I would just add to that, like, you know, like I mean, because this is the real work is like you sitting down and doing the writing, right? And the packet deadlines will come up faster than you think. So you'll submit it, then you'll get back a really substantial response from the faculty member, you know, giving you like real feedback on your writing, having some like real exchange about the books you're reading. I've found that like some folks, you know, also have appreciated, like, you know, like occasional like Zoom conversations to just like talk about the letter I wrote, just to kind of like ask, asking clarifying questions, having a little bit more engagement there. Some people prefer to kind of like be left alone. Some people want some of the students like organize their own like kind of group chat sessions with each other, and they engage with each other. Some students have like kind of independently signed up for their own, I don't know, like they've attended another like writing workshop in their community or something like that, just for fun, but you don't have to. Like the main heart of the work is like to make the time and do the writing and the reading, which will be a lot. It is very substantial, and get these packet deadlines in on time, and, kind of build in this like one-on-one, mentorship model before you go to the next residency, and then have the more structured classes and workshops and so forth.
Yeah. And don't forget the critical papers too. Those are, I know that some students find those difficult, but they are so essential to both your understanding of the craft and also lending to your ability to be able to teach creative writing down the road.
Are those critical papers in addition to like a 25-page creative work submission?
It's part of the whole packet. So, and they are shorter.
Per month?
It will depend on your study plan. So
Okay.
Sometimes you may submit them in 2 of your 3 packets or 3 of your 5 packets. So it will depend, but these are short papers. They're only 3 to 4 pages, but they're kind of, if you think about it, they are practice leading up to that big critical paper, which is about 20 pages long, that you'll be doing in your 3rd semester.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
those are like, they're really like it's really important these writing, because they're not just like book reviews. It's like this like really like drilling down into the techniques other writers are using and what their effects are. And while there's only a 2 to 3 that are like over the course of the semester that are required, they are really important, like important enough that I know like some folks have done more than them, more than that minimum. Like a student who, like I'm working with, who's going into her 3rd semester. I think she needs to do like the maximum, and maybe even an extra, just to like really like hone these muscles so that she's in good shape when she has a semester that's less of the creative work and more of this like kind of analysis mindset.
Yeah. And your faculty mentor may have you rewrite a critical paper. If it's, initially a student may think that it's like a book review, and they may have written a book review, and your faculty mentor will say, no, this is not it, and have you redo it. But yeah, that's what it is.
Can your main creative work for the term be something that you've already worked on that you want to like completely rework, or does it have to be something completely brand new?
It could be, depending on where you are with the piece. So for example, if you've already written 400 pages of something, that's not going to be, it's not going to help you for number one, your faculty mentor is not going to be able to get through the 400 pages. And number two, you wouldn't know where to begin, just to say, you don't want this to be just an editor, right? Someone to just say, here, read something that I've already written. So it helps to write new work, to learn the craft that may help you eventually go back to this other piece, right?
Okay.
When I did my MFA, I came to the table with an idea, right? But I wrote the book during the program. So, but there are students who have brought projects to the table, but it helps for them to still be in a fluid state, not just like a manuscript that this is what you've done, and that may already have so many issues that it may help to just think about it from scratch.
Yeah, if it's something like you're really like kind of hardened to and attached to, if you're only like submitting what is your 100% best work that you frankly don't think needs a ton of revision, like if it's already, if you've published it 15 years ago and you don't seriously really want to revisit it, these are things to like kind of put to bed. We're writers, we're in the generative spirit place. If you've got stuff you want to work on that like ideas, maybe even like some basic pieces, but it is still like fluid is a really good word. Ones that you really feel like very open-ended with where it can go, that might have a good home here. But especially for the first couple of semesters, I think it's best to like, as much new work as you can generate, the better, like you can always come back to stuff.
Mhm.
You've got your whole life ahead of you. You'll have a thesis semester where you're really honing it down, but for especially at the beginning, I think it's kind of best to create as much as you can.
Yeah. Even though I had that idea for a novel, I didn't start that way in the program. I decided to start, I did my first semester. I said, let me just write some short stories. I've not written short stories in ages. I really want to understand the narrative structure, just how to tell a story. And so I just did that my first semester, just wrote short stories, all sorts of things. And then in my second term, I started, chopping away at starting a novel. But that's a good question. Thank you.
If I may ask a couple questions.
Oh, yes, please do.
I think two questions come to mind. One is the question of, you talked about that you could do like a major, minor, or a double thing,
Dual genre, yes.
dual genre. Is that something that has to be declared in the admission, or is that something that you can decide later?
You can decide later. And in fact, you don't have to declare dual genre until after your second term.
Okay.
So,
And-
and the reason we do it that way is because what usually happens, and I say this from experience, it happened with me, is that you start with one genre, and when you go to lectures, you're going to all of the lectures. You're going to poetry lectures, you're going to nonfiction lectures, and you may find that a bug gets you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I really do want to study poetry. And so you want to take on that second genre. So that's what happened to me. I started off in fiction because I wanted to write a novel, but also because I'm from a journalism background. So to me, I felt like I had already done nonfiction. I didn't realize the breadth of creative nonfiction. I didn't realize I could be thinking about essays. I didn't realize I could write about faith and all of these other things. And so I was like, okay, I started in fiction. I was like, okay, I'm going to add nonfiction to this. And that's what I did. So my degree is in fiction and nonfiction. And I publish books in both now. So it's been awesome.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
just quickly add, like, even if you don't officially declare a dual degree or, do an extra semester, like I just like adding, like, you'll learn a lot from other genres, and even more like you can you'll learn techniques and find other writers that inspire you in the genre you're working in, like poetic techniques in your fiction, for example, or ways for writing like dialogue that turn out to be fiction that turns out to be
Aren't
really
I lucky? I have a
nonfiction.
cat right.
So I will add that there's a wonderful book by Walter Mosley. It's called This Year You Write Your Novel. And in it, he talks about how when he was in school, that there was a poetry class by a famous poet that he always took that class. And he will tell you, he says in the book, I can't write a poem to save my life, but I know how to write with rhythm and lyricism. And I feel that way as well. I read poetry, I study poetry, but to me, even though I've written poems, to me, I'm not a poet, but I can write lyrically, and people will read my work and they can tell that I read poetry. It's just something that to me brings my writing to life in a certain way.
Thank you so much. I love Walter Mosley myself. And my second question,
Yeah.
when you talk about the monthly creative packets, and I think you said 25 pages,
Mhm.
Can those be like a bunch of shorter things together, or is it like one? Okay.
Yes, they can. Yeah. And if poets can do that, why can't the prose people, right? So, but yeah, they can be a variety of essays, or, oh goodness, they could be microfiction, right? Or micro essays, which are less than a page, right? That would be fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? Well, thank you all for being here this evening. I have to tell you, I am looking forward to reading your application packets. I hope you will be with us, if not this summer, then in the winter. We have an amazing program. As you can tell, Anna and I are absolutely enthusiastic about our community and growing that community because we think we have something special happening here in Michigan. So take care. And if you guys get the Writer's Almanac emails, if you don't know what that is, look that up. But at the end of each Writer's Almanac, it says, be well, do good work, and keep in touch. So I will sign off in that way.